Welcome to the In My Opinion Show with Ronald Barrington Robinson and friends, seen on the internet 24 hours a day. Welcome also to our multiple millions of viewers out there in television land. I want to introduce my very talented co-hosts, Mrs. Jackie Williams.
Hello, everyone.
And Mr. Henry Hatter.
Good afternoon, Ryan.
Good.
And Jackie.
Let's talk about school shootings and massacres. Since January 1st, 2018, there have been 52 shootings in and around schools. Why? Where do we lay the blame? The president, Democrats, Republicans, schools, mental health practitioners, law enforcement, NRA. In published reports, the president got over $30 million in donations from the NRA in 2016. Many Republicans and Democratic lawmakers in Washington got millions more in donations from the NRA. This tells me nothing much is going to change. Money over children. The recent Florida massacre and wounding of students, as well as other school massacres and shootings around the country and evacuations of thousands of other schools, has brought this terrible inhumanity situation to the forefront. What must we do as parents, as a society, a country, to protect our children? History tells us, if you go on the internet and just put in school shootings from about 1700, when data was first started, there's been thousands of school shootings. This is horrible. Jackie, what is your thoughts on these school shootings and massacres? In fact, my daughter's school was evacuated yesterday.
I heard about that yesterday.
Okay.
Well, it's so many things that needs to be done. First of all, we need gun control. Because anytime the kids got to come and tell us that we need gun control, because in Florida alone, they received an F for safety of gun laws, because they don't have the same rules that we have here in Michigan. They don't have to do an application to get the rifles or the automatic weapons. They can be 18. They don't have to be 21. They don't keep track of them, and I didn't know that. They don't keep track of them. So there's so many things that are loose in Florida, and actually Florida is the state that drives other lawmakers to copy their laws, like the stand your ground. So they have a lot of issues in Florida because the stand your grounds has always been horrible. And this where you can receive an automatic weapon at just a neighborhood store without a background check. They don't do background checks on that. So it's so many different things that we need to do. First of all, we need to tighten up the gun safety. That's the first thing. Secondly, we need to make sure that our security around our campuses are adequate, because our kids should be protected if nobody else is protected. They should be able to go in a school and be able to learn without having to wonder if their life is in danger. It's hard for parents to release their children when they're not sure if they're ever going to come home, and that has to be a horrible feeling. So that's just one step that we need to do, is the gun safety, regardless to what the NRA. And the NRA is a big supporter of not just Republicans, Democrats, but the top supporter is McCain. He's a top person that the NRA supports. And even when Cruz Mario in Florida, when he was faced with a student that said, "What are you going to do to help us?" I mean, they are compassionate. And one thing about the school that they targeted this time is that the kids are able to verbally tell you how they feel without a lot of coaching, because it's a very prominent neighborhood. There is no poverty. It's supposed to be the safest neighborhood. So this is a perfect example to start the conversation and get some stuff moving. Because if it happened in the safest neighborhood, it'll happen in any neighborhood.
And also, too, that senator from Florida, he got over, Rubio, the one that you're talking about, he got over $3 million from the NRA in 2016.
Yeah, he wouldn't talk about it. He just kept saying other stuff we could do. He wouldn't deal with the NRA. He's not ready to lose those funds.
And I'm just glad that all these children are coming together all across the country and around the world. You know what I mean? To hopefully get some new legislation in place All right, there's no way in the world that somebody should have. Who needs a AR-15? All right, for what? For what purpose? Okay, for what purpose? And as we speak, those sales are going off the charts right now.
Off the chart.
AR-15s.
Yep.
There's over 300 million guns in the United States. Okay, well, why not? We manufacture guns. We export guns to Israel and various other countries. Okay, now I wish that they would overturn. I mean, that they would come to their senses, and I think when we get to start to putting a lot of those politicians out of office in 2018, maybe they'll smell the smell the coffee.
They'll hear us. They'll hear our cry.
Because that's the only way it's going to change. Is we got to change the mindset in Washington D.C. If
Right.
not, it's going to continue.
It can't be business as usual.
It's been going on from the 1700s. Okay, all over the world, school shootings. And I just thank God that yesterday that it was just a note, but they evacuated the whole high school.
Right.
And it happened again somewhere in Wayne County yesterday as well. And that's ridiculous. So, and another thing too, I do not agree with Trump talking about arming teachers in the school. First of all, if that person is going to come in there and shoot up something, that teacher's probably going to be the last person to know about it, unless it's in his or her class. Okay, they had 3 sheriff deputies up there at Parkland. Okay, that were cowards, did not even go into school. And I hope they fire and
they were trained shooters.
Exactly.
They were
right?
trained shooters.
Didn't even go into school.
Mm-hmm.
Now, teacher is to teach.
That's right.
All right, to teach our children, not to play policeman.
And they're not
Okay.
even getting paid enough to do that.
And
They're not getting paid enough to teach, let alone add another thing to their agenda. No,
Exactly.
they need to be compensated, especially now because of safety is an issue. They need to be compensated. You need to pay teachers what they're worth,
Mm-hmm.
pay them because their lives now are targets. You know
Of
what I mean?
course,
So you
of
need to
course.
pay them, not for an extra bonus as your president suggested, not to give them a bonus for special training. They've already been trained. They've been to school. They're teachers. They teach our kids. They've already done everything. They're certified. They've already done all those things. Don't add another agenda to them.
And who's to say them teachers, don't go off on the deep end? All right, they're human beings as well.
Right.
It's not just children. All right, and then why is it another thing too that makes me so doggone angry? All right, why do they say that if it's a white kid, all right, he got mental issues, but if it's a black person or a person of color, okay, they're a drug addict,
Terrorist.
or a terrorist, or a thug. That really burns me. Okay, when have you seen when and you folks out there? When have you seen a black person shooting up a school?
He's not gonna make it
killing the multitudes that have been murdered
out.
already.
He won't make it out.
Okay.
He won't make it out
Who?
alive.
When has that occurred? Maybe it has, but I'm not aware of it. And this ban or whatever Trump's trying to initiate.
For
okay,
the guns to be able to be automatic, switch from manual to automatic.
These stock, whatever they call them, all right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not the end of the gun that the bullets come out of. Okay, so that's just another play on words. It's stupidity in my opinion. All right, I don't belong to the NRA, and I don't hunt or anything, but I know a little bit about weapons. When I worked in law enforcement. All right, for the state of Michigan. That's not the end of the gun to stock. That stock mess is not the end of the gun that the bullet comes out of. So who cares about that thing? You know what I mean? Mr. Hatter.
Well, if there's a lot of text here, I do belong to the NRA.
Okay.
I have an annual membership in the NRA, but I have no guns.
Okay.
It's the police department to protect me. We have 900,000 policemen in the United States. And something's wrong if we have to send teachers out. Or hitman to kill a person who is a terrorist at school. And we have all of these policemen. Why are we paying them? It's their job to protect society. And people say, oh, well, my personal safety comes first. I think about me. And then they might say their family. But there's an innate will in Americans to own these guns.
Mm-hmm.
They're fascinated with guns. They've always been fascinated with guns. Well, I don't mind them being fascinated with them. I hear guns go off all the time around my house.
So do I.
And they echo. And I know that someday that people think, because of the the paradigm shift, that we will be at guerrilla warfare someday in the future. But I don't believe that. I don't believe that will ever happen. And now, because of what you see on TV, I don't even believe that we're going to have the apocalypse for the paradigm shift. Because although we've been talking about, and this is highly related to the shooting and stuff that you're talking about, but it's not the school shootings, but it's just shootings in the United States. I'd better break this up so we don't get confused and I get lost. But I don't agree with teachers having guns either. It's not their job to shoot kids. The kids, and you know what the most important things that teachers must do in the classroom? Protect the kids.
Sure.
Academics is second. If they can count to 10, that's fine. But the first obligation a teacher has, and the administration and the people, school coach, is to protect the kids' safety. And I heard the person, the sheriff in Florida say, well, you know what? He says, we got a plan. And then there were people just commenting on what should be done in this country. They had gone crazy talking about all of this. And they said, well, and you mentioned it here, there was armed policemen outside who refused to go into school.
3 of them.
Hiding on the side of the car.
They weren't hiding.
Yes, they were. That's what
Kids
they said.
are a protected class. I hope that I can at least convince you that kids are a protected class. They're within their own domain. And nobody can come in and jerk the kids around. They're protected. Not even the policeman outside. He may not have his facts right. He goes in and starts shooting up their own kids. And then you will see the mom and pops. You will see mostly the mom come in and put a thing in your behind.
And also, too, based upon what you're saying, okay? Now, you got a teacher in the school with a gun,
Yeah.
okay? And you got a disruption, and here comes the cop in there. Guess who's going to get blown away? The teacher. Because all that cop is going to see is that gun.
Well, I'd hate to think that when these incidents do erupt, we have no idea where they're coming from and when they're coming.
Right.
Well,
You just have
this
no
one,
idea.
this one you did, because there was 18 complaints to the sheriff department that went and sat on a desk.
Mm-hmm.
They said they went uninvestigated, and matter of fact, there was a call on January the 5th by a neighbor that said this guy is going to explode. No one did anything with that.
What should he have done? The kid had not created an
What the
incident.
FBI said
Hang
they
on.
should have did, they should have
The
sent
FBI,
field. They
that's
should have
just
sent
all
field.
political BS.
No, I I mean, if I call 18 times, Henry, to your school district and tell you that something is going wrong in your school district and you fail to investigate what I'm talking about,
They always investigate.
well,
They always come up with the same answer.
Oh, well, they
What do we
Not
do?
enough evidence.
not.
And you know what the police will say to you? The kid has not committed the overact.
Exactly.
You got to kill somebody first. You got to do something. In this country, under this Constitution, you are innocent until you.
He was on social
Have
media.
created-
And you're
He was on
protected
so-
by your First Amendment right.
Thank
But he was on social media
Yeah.
with a
But he hadn't done anything.
some kind of covering on his head,
Yeah.
saying that he is going to shoot up a school. That's a threat.
Yeah, that's a threat.
That's a threat. It went uninvestigated as well.
Well, I can't understand why it went uninvestigated.
Well, this is what they're trying to
Because
figure out now. Is why no
you
one.
guys know that we had one at Kyle, right? We had two,
Yeah,
just within the last week or two.
yeah, I remember hearing.
I
That.
can't talk about it, but if you had seen the video or the TV release of that, you might have seen people criticizing the Board of Education for not doing something.
Well, since you brought Clio schools up, you're an administrator out there. What preventions policies do they have in place?
We have everything in everything that we're required by law to have in place.
Okay, well, tell our
And-
tell our public what some, not necessarily what Clio, but things that these school systems districts
Have to do. Well,
initiate.
when you if there's someone who says that there's a kid that's going to shoot up the school, there's a hit list out there. There are kids that are planning to bomb the school in any way or do anything to harm or hurt the school or its occupants. Teachers will investigate that. The superintendent is obligated to investigate that. The sheriff department also has a backup. The city of Clio has backups. And the difficulty is treading on the rights of other people while we have a constitution. The Constitution is both good and bad in certain circumstances, but we would not want to live without it.
Right.
So when we want to protect the rights of kids to the best of our ability, when we have evidence that there's a pending threat to any of
Okay,
the kids.
so with this guy, he entered the school. So
Yeah.
are there not detectors when you go
Yeah.
into the school?
Yeah.
So this guy entered the school. No detectors went off. Now, he was kicked out of the school because of his bad behavior, and he was voted most likely to be a shooter. That's what he was.
Oh, you mean the student?
The student.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm saying, so when they come in, you're saying that there is a. So how did it not go off?
I don't understand why he got in, but you
Yeah.
can't come into
Right, that's what I'm trying to
You
figure
can't
out.
come into area schools without being detected. You have to go through a set of doors, 2 doors at least, before you can get into school. They're both locked,
So I wonder
and
how
somebody
he got it.
observes you as you come through that entrance, and
Right.
you're also being photographed.
So I wonder how all of those, because that's what they were talking about, the failed mission. That's what they call it in Florida, the failed mission, because they were saying that he went undetected. He brought a gun into the school. He was able to get shots off without anybody realizing that he was even in
I'm
danger.
sorry, I don't understand how he got past it.
I don't know either. That's why I was asking you, because I don't know how.
I can't imagine, but
Because even when I go to the schools here, it's like before you even make
Yeah.
2 steps, they be like, "Who are you and what are you
Yeah.
doing?" You know what I'm saying?
I don't think that Parkland had
Maybe
metal
they did.
detectors.
well, see,
okay,
they
since they
live in
think-
exclusive areas.
exclusive.
They live
area.
in the safest
And that's not
place in
supposed to
Florida.
happen.
Yeah,
The safest
And
area in
parents,
Florida.
Parents don't want their kids living in a police state, and nor do I want to live
Exactly,
in a police
I
state.
agree
Nor
with
do
you.
I want my kids to go in a police state. That could be horrible.
Mm-hmm.
If you've never lived under those circumstances, then you probably would be asking for something that you wished you did not have if it
Mm-hmm.
occurred. And you once these systems get built, it's hard to back off.
Because they
And
need
I
more.
think that's what they're wrestling with. What is the next step, and how do we go about that next step, and protect the rights of kids under the law, and protect
Well,
the rights
the
of
first thing
people.
that they were talking about was when Trump came into office, he rolled back some of the regulations of people with mental issues being able to obtain guns.
Not everybody with a gun has a mental issue.
No, I'm just saying.
I don't think that any blacks have mental issues.
That's not true. But anyway, so they said that he rolled back the regulation for people who had mental issues to be able to obtain guns.
Well, he shouldn't be the president.
In this, in this state, you don't even have to do a background check to get that gun. You don't have to do anything. You just have to be 18. The guy said it took, another young person went in and did a test. He said it took him 20 minutes to watch somebody get a gun. They didn't ask him for no ID, anything. They just gave it to him at a neighborhood place, you know, so it was really easy to obtain that gun.
We had a doctor that did this just 3 days ago. He demonstrated it.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
No, this is one of the young people from this high school was watching somebody buy a gun because he was saying it still hadn't changed.
Well, I think Americans, first of all, have got to understand that people have to be responsible for their actions or their consequences.
Of course.
I agree.
Yes.
So if you're always going to say, well, the kid had a bad day and he didn't have enough to eat yesterday and his parents had been slaves and all of that stuff that people pack into excuses, it's hard to defend against that because there's a mindset in the public that kids and people who have these aberrations need to be protected under the law. Mm-hmm. But it's just difficult for us to really get people to accept responsibility for it if they can. Now, I'm not talking about the mentally ill, and we do have mentally ill people.
Of course, but how do you just by looking at somebody, you know what I mean? How do you determine if they have emotional issues? All right, I mean they could have. I got a list of just some of the things. You know, some of these people: copycat, ethnic issues, bullying, racism, mental illness,
all of those.
Divorce, sexual abuse, lovers quarrel. You know what I mean? Romantic breakup.
But when
you know
and I went to school.
And here they come with a gun.
We didn't have detectors. You could walk in and out. You could hang out the window. You can go upstairs and jump down off the second floor onto the ground, and no consequences. We were not a dangerous people. We have evolved to become dangerous to each other. Maybe it's because of the crowd and the population growth or whatever, or maybe we just live with too much affluency. But when we went to school, there were no guns. There were no detectors. What has changed?
The freedom. That's what they were talking about.
We lived in a free and democratic society, which we still do. What has changed?
But now,
we're afraid of each other.
The services changed because that's what they were talking about on the news, is that the services changed because now kids are not going to the same kind of homes that we went to. Kids are going to wounded homes. Like this particular guy, his mother died of the flu. So he was placed with somebody else. So we don't know what came behind that. We don't know if he was being counseled. You know what I mean? We don't know what came behind all of that. But again, on Valentine's Day, when it's supposed to represent love, this is how you felt. You understand what I'm saying? So you can see some signs here, but they were talking about services not being provided to our young people when they get out of school because you don't know what they're going to face against. And so this is what brings up.
Can I just say this? And I always hesitate. I feel guilty when I say this, and uneducated. But one of the things when you were at home, and you guys can witness to this, if your parents ask you, did you throw a stone and break the neighbor's window? And I don't know how you would answer that. Or maybe you answer
I'm
that.
telling
But
the
I know
truth.
what I had to do.
Yeah, I had to
admit.
Yeah.
I did too. Or the punishment was worse than breaking the window.
But do you see evidence of that still?
But that's what I'm saying. It's not the same parents at home.
And the way I learned things, to be the coward that I became, was because there was always somebody looking at me. As strange as this is, my behavior was being detected by a being that I can't see. And you know who that was?
Please give us the name.
Yeah, you're crazy, huh?
It wasn't Big Brother by
Are you okay? Are you with us?
no, but stop and think about it.
But who is it? Who is it?
The religion that we were guided by.
Okay, call him who he is. Quit acting like he's some ghost or something.
Well,
You're talking about
no. We had, and you could still see people our ages still talk about that and why.
No, you're right. My mother used to say, "I can't see you all the time, but he sees you everywhere."
Yeah.
And I was scared because I was.
But you guys make a joke of it. That's why
No,
I say
you said-
that
no, you're
it
talking
was
about-
difficult because this was one of the things that I learned. I learned to develop character from. And to be cautious about how we treat other people.
Yeah.
Of course.
And all of a
Respect.
sudden today, parents are saying, well, if the teacher gives you a rough time, you just give them a rough time. And, it's that revenge thing. We created a kind of culture that that for the individual prevails. Nobody else prevails.
Well, you know what they said? They said it started at little things.
Yeah.
Back to what you were saying, they took prayer out of the schools. So they're no longer going in there submitting to a higher power, which is God. They're no longer doing that. So they go in school. They can't say anything about that. Now, you can come in there and cuss and do whatever. That's acceptable behavior. But to better us, we couldn't use that stuff. And so now you can't discipline your kids. So now you got to talk to your kids. You can't discipline your kid. And they know because they're listening while you're making all these changes. And they realize, oh, they can't hit me, or I'll call the police, or I'll call.
We've trivialized the old behaviors that
Yeah.
held us stable.
That's right.
And comfortable.
That's right.
And secure within their own skin.
Yeah.
But now we're not we're insecure and unstable.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys are going to go out and herd up all of the shooters. The next shooter is just waiting.
That's
Sure.
right.
Absolutely.
Like you said, back to your list, copycat,
Mm-hmm.
sexual. I mean, when people sit at home and you don't have anybody to talk to, your voice is the loudest voice you hear. So you're like, they don't know what you're going through. They don't know how hurt you are. And then if we don't have services to bring out these things so we can talk about them and get them, get some help for them, then all they do is fester. They go to social media and then people add to it because, sometimes people on social media are just as mean as people in the street.
Of course.
And they'll say stuff like, you should kill yourself. I mean, crazy stuff. So it's not always supportive where you go to seek help. You know what I mean? It's not always supportive. And that's what he did. He went to social media and he said, I'm going to shoot up. He had his Make America Great hat on, American flag around his head, and he said, I'm going to shoot up a school.
Well, we hear that all the time. That's something that...
But we get
Goes
comfortable
on.
with, I think.
Well,
you know what I mean?
and we go through
drop our guard.
we go through the gestures of listening to people and the counseling and stuff like that, and then we go back to our routines.
Mm-hmm.
That's
you have not
because-
solved the problem.
Yep, that's because we're not giving proper services.
But
and then the budget was cut. The background checks are being cut for gun safety, services for mentally ill. All of these services are being cut. So what do you think we're doing? We're producing.
How much of this are we driving that process by the psychologist comes up with a new definition of whatever this is that the person has, and they'll put you on Haldol or something like that, and then there, what people who want to escape going through the criticism do is that they keep their thoughts to themselves.
Disassociate themselves because they don't
Yeah.
want to be put in a
At this time, unfortunately, we must bring the In My Opinion show to a close. But I want to thank our millions of viewers worldwide for watching. This is Ronald Barrington Robinson and friends saying until next time, stay focused.